Welcome to the Dr. Diane Show, where we explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. With over 20 years of expertise as a mindset warrior, perspective shifter, and unshakable optimist, I am dedicated to helping you reach your wildest dreams in business, health, performance, and relationships. Learn about the power of thought and how it shapes your life to take risks, change careers, find love, go on adventures, and live passionately with me, Dr. Diane. Get ready for revolutionary ways of thinking, being, and creating an amazing life. The Dr. Diane Show starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Diane Hayden, and you are listening to the Dr. Diane Show on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour, where we will explore revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul. Join me on the first and third Thursdays at 11 and on the Dr. Diane Show, where I have experts from around the country teaching you cutting-edge therapies on longevity medicine, natural health, mindset, and soul purpose to help you shift your perspective and become a mindset warrior like me. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. I'm excited today to have Amelia South on the show with me. She overcame candida and rosacea naturally, healing herself without the need for conventional medicine. She has been foraging wild foods since 2006 and became a certified herbalist in 2018. Known for her grounded, earthy approach, Amelia hikes barefoot, lives off the land, and empowers others to heal themselves through the medicinal power of food and herbs. There is a whole world of food and medicine right outside your own back door, and that she is excited to show you. So welcome, Amelia. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. So I know that my listeners are thinking, wow, how did she get into that? And when they learn even more about what you do and how you do it, it's pretty fascinating. So what made you even think to go out in your backyard and start looking for things that were edible?
Well, it's not a glamorous story, if that's okay.
That's okay. It's your story.
Uh, because it was almost 20 years ago now. I had gotten my first real apartment like out of, after college and everything, and I was living in this really junky apartment with like an ex-boyfriend and I in Washington State. And if anybody is that's listening has ever been to Washington State or from like the Western Washington State, not too far from Seattle, there is a blackberry there called Marion berries that grow wild absolutely everywhere, like on every roadside. It is a nightmare for most people and they hate it. And I had just like I just moved there from Connecticut and I'm like, "Ooh, look at that." And I'm out there like picking berries because it was free food on the side of the road. Why not, right? And I decided like, I didn't have a lot of money. I was kind of like a poor person living in a poor apartment. And I said, look at all this free abundant food. And I brought a kitchen bowl out there and I filled it up. And I basically taught myself how to make jam and jellies and froze some for food and made pies and things. And that was the start. And honestly, blackberries or raspberries, anything like berry is the official gateway drug into foraging, I think, for everybody, because it's the one
It's
thing that looks
safe.
exactly the same in the
Yep.
grocery store as it does on the bush. You're like, there's no way you're going to mistake that. So, um, that's how I got started. And then it just kind of gradually grew from there. I started getting really into it back in like 2009 or 10-ish after, my daughter was born and I had more time to devote to actually getting really into it. But yeah, I've kind of been, it's part of me now.
Yeah, it's got to be a calling, I think, because even though, like you say, okay, you moved out to Seattle. It's so funny. So my producer, this whole company is based out there. So we're going to ask him on the break if he's ever heard from the time that I was out there as well. But not everybody would think to do that, though. I swear, I'm thinking like, wow, I don't know if I would have had like the mental wherewithal to actually think, oh, I'm going to go out and pick that and eat it. So I feel like it was something that was innate in you for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I grew up when I was a kid, we had a lot of gardens. Like my mom had a vegetable garden, my grandmother had a vegetable garden. I've apparently turned into my grandmother with the foraging and the canning and all that stuff, and I didn't even know that she's been dead for 20 years. But I that all happened. I My stepmother was into flowers, and so I was out there being forced to garden all the time as a kid. And, like dad wants to go hiking, we're going hiking, whether I like it or not. And as a kid, you're like, well, I guess I'll just deal with it. I have to do what my parents say. But then you grow up, you're like, oh, I'm not going to do that anymore until you realize that you've internalized it completely and you're just a plant person now, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
So yeah, that's kind of, and it's funny because when I was in high school, I was in vocational agriculture and I studied animals and I was in animal science and I went to like the national competition for dairy cattle judging and livestock judging, and now I'm the plant lady. So it's funny how much life treats you.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what people are going to be really interested in learning about basically is, number one, how do you know, that, and obviously a lot of this is going to be based on your teaching, and we'll talk about, what you do and how you teach people and all that. But just like the basics, how someone who's never done anything like this can know whether something out in their yard is safe or
Mhm.
dangerous to eat. And then also, you in your bio, we learned that you overcame certain health issues through this. So let's start first by what are some simple ways that a beginner can tell if a plant is safe or not?
Well, you really do have to recognize the plant. You have to positively identify the plant. If you're interested in foraging anything, um, number one thing I tell you is don't start with mushrooms. Like unless you go
Good
and
idea.
really seriously study mycology, you don't want to start with mushrooms just because there's a much higher likelihood that you'll pick something that's going to make you seriously ill with mushrooms versus plants. There's just and it's not that there aren't plants that won't kill you. There's just a lot more plants that are safer to eat, I feel. So the the number one place to start with foraging is fruit, because an apple is always going to look like an apple. A berry is always going to look like a berry. If like a blueberry looks like a blueberry, a blackberry looks like a blackberry, an apple looks like an apple, a pear looks like a pear. And no matter in the grocery store or at the farmer's market or in the wild. So that's a good place to start. But if it's in your backyard and you don't happen to have any fruit trees, believe it or not, a lot of people have raspberries, wild raspberries all over the country. Some form of the species is rubus, and they are spread throughout the entire world. There's some variety of raspberry type thing, so that's a good place to look. Also, look around your yard. Even people that have like really nice, beautiful lawns, I can pretty much guarantee there's going to be like maybe a couple dandelions in there or some plantain or some things that they're not used to, you know, um, I'm not a lawn lover, but but they're going to see things in their lawn that they think they don't want there, but they're probably food. They're probably food or medicine. Um, so most people can recognize a dandelion. That's a great place to start. I don't know if you know this or if your listeners know this, but dandelions were brought over here by colonizers from Europe as a food source. They were brought here for food and medicine.
I
Um,
didn't know that. Wow.
they, yeah. And then they naturalized themselves. They basically said, "We like it here," and spread throughout the entire country.
Wow.
Um, I believe there's maybe like one or two native varieties of dandelion, like up in the mountains, but most people, when you see dandelions, they're going to be Taraxacum officinale, which is the variety that came over from Europe. And dandelions are delicious. The entire thing is edible in many different ways. So dandelions are another gateway plant that are really easy to recognize. Something plantain. Plantain is another one. They call that white man's footprint because plantain likes to grow in areas of compacted soil. This is probably a plant that you've seen in your driveway or in a pathway somewhere. They've got these like roundish, ovalish leaves with long ribs in them. There's two different varieties of the round ones, and then there's the long, skinny ones, but they've got these long ribs in them, and they're very easy. Like if I showed you plantain in your driveway, you'd say, "Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of that." Almost everybody has seen a lot of that. They're just walking on it and they don't recognize it and they don't think of it. So the worst weeds are your best friends. They really are. The most common weeds that you see in your yard, in your garden, the stuff that, you know, your dad who loves his lawn is picking out of his lawn inch by inch because he can't stand it, that's probably medicine. And it's showing up there in your yard to heal you and tell you and serve you. And then people like they're like, "Oh, I want my lawn to be pretty." And it's just, yeah. don't get me started on that.
Right, exactly. And so they're throwing Roundup and God knows what else out there. But
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I So something you just said grabbed me. Like, have you actually seen where plants will show up in someone's yard ba- that are related to some health issue that they're having?
100%.
So
Yes.
it's
It
that
happens all the
intuitive.
time. Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Plants know. And now it's not right away. Like if you just moved into a house and you look around the yard, it's not like those plants showed up for you. Usually probably 5, 6 months down the road, maybe a little later, you'll start noticing, hey, what's this plant? What's this plant? Because even at my house, I've been at my house for 8 years, and the plant life that's in the yard is very different than what it was when I moved in here. Now, part of that, a little bit of that is me because I'm I'm encouraging certain things to grow. Like
Right.
I want lots of clover in my yard. Clover's delicious. You might as well, but there's some things that I remember like fighting horrifically when I got here, and they're either gone or there's hardly any of them left, and they've been replaced by other plants that I do work with, medicinally all the time. And that happens. I'll be teaching a foraging walk at somebody's house, and they'll say something like, "Oh man, I've got tinnitus really bad, or I've got really horrible mucus issues," and we start walking around their yard, and I find this gigantic patch of ground ivy. And then they'll say, "Oh gosh, he's been trying to get rid of that for years, and we hate that stuff." And I say, "That's the medicine that's going to help you, right?" And they're like, "What? No way. There's no way." And I explain how to work with it, and I'm just like, "Yeah, this is here to heal you. You have to be listening to the plants to understand."
That's amazing. I mean, I thought we were going to talk about a lot of interesting things today, but that's the number one takeaway. That's all we have to do for the show. We're done. Like, seriously, I mean, it makes sense when you think about just how intuitive nature is and the earth and all of that, right?
Absolutely.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
But when we think about like just the society that we live in today, that's even possible, I would say that most people, that's going to blow their mind. Like, oh my gosh, like all I need to do is go outside and probably, in my yard, there is intuitive nature happening and it knows exactly what I need based on what issue that I'm having. I mean, that's going to blow people's minds
That
right there.
that's my favorite thing to do, blow people's minds when they're in their own yard.
Oh
They
my
don't know.
gosh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that right there is a reason, the number one reason to book you, to have you come to people's yards. And we're going to talk about all that, like, what you do, your services, how you come to people and, show them all these
Mhm.
things. It's pretty amazing. So we've got to go to a quick break already. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. When we come back, we'll explore more with Amelia South. She's a certified herbalist and the owner of Black Sun Farm. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact me. You can find me at www.drdianehayden.com or at either of my two publications, www.naturalnutmeg.com and www.essentialnaples.com. And you can learn more about Amelia South at her website, which is www.blacksunfarmct.com. That's spelled BlackSunfarmct.com. So welcome back, Amelia. Before we left, you were blowing my mind about the fact that you literally are, our yard is so intuitive that there are things that are going to start growing there that can help heal us, medicinal plants and things like that, that are growing specifically for potentially some issue that we are having, that if we just knew that, we could go out, pick that, make them, and it
Exactly.
would help what the issues are that we're having. Like,
Yep.
literally, as I said before we went to break, I'm like, that's the number one takeaway from this show. Seriously, like, people are going to be like, what? How does that even work? But we should, it shouldn't be that surprising because we should know that nature is intuitive like that, right?
Can I tell you
So,
one just real quick that's going to blow everybody's mind again?
yeah, go ahead.
Have you ever heard of Japanese knotweed?
Yes.
It's one of the most invasive plants like on earth, especially in the United States right now. Japanese knotweed, is super duper invasive all over the place. It's been spreading across the entire country, and one of the things that Japanese knotweed is very well known for treating as an herb is Lyme disease.
Oh my
Lyme
gosh.
disease
Yep.
has been spreading slowly across the entire country, and if you look at a map of where Japanese knotweed has spread, it almost exactly matches where Lyme disease has spread.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, all you'd have to do is really look at that, like correlation seriously to understand, wow, it's like,
the intelligence of
it's
nature,
exactly, exactly. And it's following the path of this disease and trying to help people,
trying to help.
right?
Yep.
But nobody's going
Nobody
out
knows
in
how
their
to
yard.
listen.
Yeah, exactly. So besides that, what's a common health issue that people might be surprised they can treat with what's growing in their backyard?
Well, let me think. So dandelion greens are great. They're a great spring cleanser, but they also have an affinity for the kidneys, the kidney system. So there are a lot of people dealing with edema, um, which tends to be based on you're retaining water in your lower extremities, and taking dandelion leaf can help clear that out. But a lot of people are put on is it called water pills? I think they're called what people just keep calling them water pills. I can't remember
Yeah.
the name of the
Mhm.
medication. But they're put on this thing to help their edema, this pharmaceutical to help their edema, and they end up having to also take potassium supplements because the water pills suck all the potassium out of their body. Whereas now I'm not telling anybody to just jump out there and start taking dandelion. Instead, you want to talk this over with your doctor or a naturopath to be sure it's right for you. But
Mhm.
some people can take dandelion greens instead, as a tea, or probably a tea would be the best, I would think. Tincture might work as well. But that because dandelion greens are so high in potassium, it replaces the potassium that you lose through the kidneys. So you basically don't have to be taking two different medications. You just need dandelion greens, which is pretty fantastic. I mean, that's just one of many things that dandelion are fantastic for. The root is specific for the liver system, your liver and your gallbladder. And the flowers are really moisturizing and anti-inflammatory. So in addition to the fact it's delicious and one of my favorite things to eat.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting when I've gone to certain like farm to table dinners or things like that when you're actually out on the farm. I went to this one in Connecticut that was really cool because they actually took us through. Now, they, of course, were purposely growing some of these things, but they were growing a lot of, I guess I'd call them weeds, right? And
Yep.
they or edible flowers and things like that. And they used them in this dish, the dinner that they made. And it was cool because people got to experience something that they probably never had before, never knew, how, first of all, that was edible or how good it could taste or how to cook with it, that kind of thing. So um what's the experience they're like? So let's say I wanted you to come to my yard,
Yep.
so you would come and what would you do? Basically, what would you teach me?
So we walk around your yard, your property, whether it's woods or backyard, whatever it is. I usually start, near where your door is, wherever you meet me. And 9 times out of 10, we're talking for at least a solid 30 to 45 minutes within 20 feet of your back door, because
Wow.
the diversity of plants is a lot thick. It tends to be a lot thicker, like around the edges of things. So a lot of people get concerned. They're like, well, I don't know if I've got time to go foraging, or foraging is like seems like a big heavy
Yeah,
task
they
for me
think
to
they got to
do.
go hours in the forest, right?
Exactly. And you really don't, because in all honesty, like last year I was teaching a foraging lesson for some women in I think it was Guilford, and we spent 45 solid minutes in the parking lot because that was just so much diversity. Now, I don't
Wow.
recommend you eat anything in the parking lot,
Yeah.
but identifying it, I would probably take you around the edges of your property first, because once you go into the woods, yeah, I'm going to absolutely be identifying, probably 5, 6, maybe 10, 15 different plants. But then if we start walking, like we go on a hiking trail through your woods or something, there's a very real chance it's going to be, well, we already identified this, and this, and this. You just kind of see rinse and repeat for quite a while. Whereas walking just along the edge of your property, Or in some of the places, like if you've got a couple of trees in your yard, we would look under the trees and see what's there. The diversity is so much greater in those little areas that you wouldn't even think that you could just walk around the edge of a field and you'll probably find like 20 to 50 plants versus just in the middle of your yard or just in the center of a big open field or just in the woods,
Yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. And then I think the other question people probably have is, well, what do I do with it? Right. So now we've identified all these things. Now, what do I do? Is that something that you help
That is
people with?
also, yes, that's also something that I do. That's an option. So when people book a foraging walk with me, I say, do you want just the walk or would you like the walk and a demonstration? Which and a lot of people like the demonstration. So we'll go around while we're walking around. I'm showing them this stuff. I'm getting them really excited about all the medicine that's in their yard and the food that's in their yard. And if they want the demo, we start picking stuff. Everybody, whether we remember to bring a basket or not is up in the air usually, but we've all got pockets, right? We could just
Yep.
stick the leaves in our pot. Well, so we pick things. I remember most of the time in spring, like this is really, we're getting really into the best time of year right now, because it's pesto season. Pesto is the best, most favorite thing to make in the spring. But I remember a year, maybe 2 years ago, I went to somebody's house and I'm thinking, oh, for sure, this is like early May. We're gonna have tons of stuff, lots of pesto. Went through this man had like 15 acres that we went through. And I get to the end and I'm going, what the heck am I gonna pick to make these people? We didn't find anything that was ready, that had any quantity. And I thought, right, we're getting close to the house. I said, have you happened to see any dandelions anywhere? And he said, oh yeah, we've got some over here. We found a big patch of dandelions. So we picked a whole bunch of the flower heads and I made them fritters. We went into their kitchen. I showed them, I had brought some things to show. I bring some ingredients because there's not never
Yeah,
necessarily
of course.
100% of everything in your yard.
Right.
But if I'm making pesto, I'll bring the cheese and the olive oil, but we're going to pick all the ingredients and I'm going to show you how to make it, with your food processor in your kitchen. So you're going to be able to repeat this process. And then I usually do like a medicine making demonstration because a lot of what we're seeing is going to be medicinal stuff. And I want you to understand at least the easiest way because I can explain how to make a tea. It's very easy to make tea. You just have to dry them. But and then crush them up and stick them in a teacup, really. But a tincture we talk about, and then a couple of other different methods depending on the plants. So I also I don't give like a full consultation or anything, but I ask them, usually whoever is the homeowner, what sorts of problems have you got going on? Because I can look in their yard, and if they say, yeah, we've been here for a few years, I'll be like, I can tell you that somebody's got this going on or this going on based on what's growing in your yard right now.
Wow,
And
that's wild.
I'm right many, many, many times. Somebody says, a woman once told me, well, I don't have that, but my boyfriend lives with me most of the time and he's got really bad, COPD or whatever. And we were talking about a certain plant. So I'm like, that's it right there. It's helping you. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun.
That would be a really cool thing to do for like a neighborhood, right? Like,
Oh
get a
yeah. Yeah.
group of right, get a group of people together in a neighborhood and have you, come and do, you know,
I do whole
okay.
families sometimes.
Yeah.
One person will hire me, and then it's like I get there and it's like 12 people. They're cousins, and they brought their kids, and they got everybody there. We're like, all right, let's do this. It's
Yeah.
exciting.
Well, it's cool because I think you're teaching people, what can they use in their yard? And we could look at this from a number of different angles, right? Like we could look at it from a cost angle. Oh, you might be able to be finding food in your yard, so
Hmm.
cuts down on what you buy at the grocery store. We could look at it as provided there's not like a ton of pesticides and things like that being put on the yard. You could look at it
Yep.
as, hey, it might be safer to eat stuff in your yard than going to the grocery store and
It's
buying,
actually more nutritious too.
I was gonna say, right?
Most wild
Yeah.
food is way more nutritious than anything you can get at the grocery store. So,
Exactly. Yep. Because it's I mean it's allowed to grow wild, right? And it's not been enhanced or had GMO seeding or all this other kind of stuff that
it didn't need
that we do.
fertilizer or anything. It just grew where it wanted to grow and it grew nice and big for you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So there's that, there's the whole medicinal part of it where, you have something in your backyard that's going to potentially heal you and maybe in some cases you don't have to take a medication. You just have that. So
Absolutely.
there's so many reasons to do this. It's mind-boggling for sure.
And you'll remember it better if I come to you in your yard, you know?
Well, that's true.
You'll remember what I show you rather than you coming to me to a big class of a lot of different people or at a park or something. You're going to remember, hey, she said this is over by the well cap, or hey, didn't Amelia say this is over by the wood pile? Yeah, that's it. And you remember it because you live there and you see it all the time.
Right, exactly right, because you have that footprint of your own yard in your head for sure.
Yep.
This is so fascinating. We're going to have to take another quick break. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. When we come back, we'll be talking more about herbal medicine with Amelia South. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden, and we are talking today with Amelia South. You can learn more about her at her website, www.blacksunfarmct.com. That's spelled BLACKSUNFARMCT.com. So, before we just broke, we were just talking about, all the different things that, reasons, I guess, to find wild foods in your own backyard. And I was just thinking, like, one thing you mentioned earlier about foraging, people tend to, when they hear that word, I think it's almost a disservice because I think people think it's going to take a lot of time and they're going to have to be traipsing through the woods and all this other stuff. When really, what we're learning from you is you just go right outside your door and it's right there in your yard.
Oh yeah, lots of it anyway. I mean, you can go in the woods and explore, and
Sure.
someday maybe you will if you get really into it. But to get started, it doesn't have to be that far.
Right, exactly, exactly. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I think it's an issue that we're hearing a lot about now in terms of people's chronic health issues that they're having, is issues with gut health. And so, how does eating this wild food help heal the gut?
So this is a passion of mine, all right? One of the things that most people don't think about, even a lot of the gut health experts don't think about this, is the your microbiome has probiotics. Everybody's heard of probiotics, right? Probiotics, just a quick lesson, probiotics are the little creatures inside your gut that basically help you digest everything. And you want to feed them. You really need a diverse diet to feed a diverse gut microbiome to keep it happy and healthy. And there are realistically in the cultivated world, we have lost thousands upon thousands of varieties of plants just in the last like 100 years
Mm.
because of cultivation techniques and because, of course, farmers are going to favor certain varieties of certain plants that everybody wants. If everybody only wants to buy these 5 different kinds of apples, why bother growing the other 50? And that's pretty much what's happened with fruits and vegetables over the years. So
Not to
wild
mention,
foods.
people want what they want when they want it, right? Like that's why
Exactly.
now you'll see strawberries in the store all year long. You'll see
Yep.
like tomatoes all year long, but I mean, I feel like I notice that they
They
don't
taste
taste
so much
right.
better when it's in the right season. Like
Exactly.
I would never in a million years buy a watermelon in January. It's just
Right.
not going to
But
happen.
it's there if you want it.
It's there, exactly. That's the thing. But it tastes awful. And the
Yep.
strawberries in February, like where are you even getting this? So when you eat seasonally, that helps because your body's used to that. Your body's like built for eating seasonally. But also just eating the wild foods. So here's just a really interesting thing that I've learned personally from eating wild foods regularly, that wild foods cook a lot faster. There are a lot of different things, like they don't really last so long. I think a pawpaw is probably a pretty good example, even though I've never even had a pawpaw because they don't grow here in Connecticut unless you plant one. Um, but you can't buy a pawpaw at the grocery store because they don't ship. They grow wild because as soon as that thing falls and it's ripe and ready to go, you've got like 24 hours to eat it or it's
What
bad.
what is a
And
pawpaw?
oh, a pawpaw.
I don't know what
um,
that is.
I hope to get one someday. They grow like from like maybe New Jersey south. It's a
Okay.
fruit that looks kind of like a mango, but it grows. They're native to the United States.
Okay.
They're well, North America. They're
Yeah.
native to North America, and they grow in like not even the Midwest. It's like the eastern, western sort of middle area there. I don't remember exactly what that part of the United States is called, but I know they've got them in Ohio and like I think Indiana, Kentucky, all that. They
But it's
all
a
know what
fruit.
pawpaw. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
fruit.
Okay.
So, and it's supposed to taste like banana custard.
Ooh.
Really, like it sounds really absolutely amazingly delicious. And I planted one on purpose in my backyard, but it's really small still. It hasn't got any fruit. So, but that's just a really good example. There's a lot of other wild fruits and foods like that that just don't have shelf life. They've never been cultivated. They've never been, you know, selectively bred for hundreds or even thousands of years. Like if you eat wild carrot, that have you ever sauteed a carrot like in a pan with butter or something? It probably takes 10, 15 minutes at least to saute a pan of carrots. You
Hmm.
saute wild carrot and it's done in like 4 minutes. You're gonna burn it because you don't know what you're like. The first time I was like, oh crap, it's turning bright, it's turning black on me. I didn't know what I was doing because I'm thinking, oh, it's gonna be just like a carrot. No, because the wild foods are they haven't been messed with, so they haven't, and it's not just GMO. It's just selective breeding. Humans have selectively bred certain plants to look and be a certain way, mostly so that we can feed more of the world. And it's great that we're feeding more people. But I want to encourage people to learn how to feed themselves with what they have available. Because if the global economy ever were to go down or something, you would be so happy that you took a class or that
Yep.
you knew at least a handful of the stuff that you could survive on. And in a lot of places, most people that have more than an acre or so, you can possibly not just survive, but even thrive on some of these plants. You let them
Wow.
grow enough and learn how to process them. So
Yeah. That is
I'm sorry.
amazing. So I think you brought up pawpaw in relation to how does eating wild food help heal the gut?
That's right. I'm sorry
Yeah.
about that. I
No,
got
that's
I
all
got
right.
off sidetracked.
It's easy to do.
So
Like all
the
this is fascinating.
the the reason you want a diverse microbiome, and that keeps your gut bacteria very happy. It also adds, of course, fiber and vitamins and minerals. Um, so that portion there, also you can actually ferment the wild foods. There's a lot of I believe Sandor Katz is the one that's famous for wild fermentation. I'm starting to get more into some of that there's seaweed. You can actually ferment seaweed. I know there's go down to the shoreline and pick the right kind of seaweed and you can ferment that. That's fantastic. So of course fermented foods are really great for the gut. Now, not every single thing I do with wild forage foods is just for gut health, but
Mhm.
you're getting the fiber, so that's making your gut very, very happy. Of course, everybody is not eating enough fiber. Just about everybody doesn't eat enough fiber. So you want to eat more fiber. You want to eat more wild greens. You want to eat, well, not just wild greens, but greens, and wild greens. And so that's one of the major ways that it's going to help with the gut microbiome. There's also certain plants like so dandelion roots or chicory root or burdock root. These are very high in inulin, which is a prebiotic fiber, which again is going to help not just feeding the microbiome, but it just helps towards gut health. You can buy inulin supplements, I believe, in some places, and it's probably growing, either on the side of the road or not far from your yard. So all of these things are just nature waiting to heal you.
You're going to put the supplement industry out of business.
If I'm lucky, yeah.
Yeah. So how quickly would you think that someone might feel a difference from eating wild foods if they're trying to heal their gut or like anything else? And I'm sure it's different based on what the chronic issue is, but
Well,
how
yeah,
quickly
and
have you seen an effect?
I mean because I also I do take a probiotic as well. I'm not going to say you can every human body's different. So if
Right.
you can get the full healing from just the wild foods or the fermenting of those wild foods, that's fantastic. You can also ferment, traditional vegetables and things too. Make your own kimchi and sauerkraut and things like that. But um, you're going to start feeling a difference in your health in general even if your gut microbiome isn't completely healed yet, within a couple of days, because you're getting such higher nutrition. I have to give you a little story about this. So I had restless leg syndrome for like 15 years.
Well,
And last year, it actually degraded even worse. It turned into periodic limb movement syndrome or disorder, which is where your legs are twitching on their own. And it was all related to technically an iron deficiency, because I was tested and they said I was anemic, which is really interesting because I was eating a lot of stuff high in iron. I was cooking in cast iron. I was eating all these foods. And it turns out that I wasn't getting the right minerals to let the iron go where it needed in my body. And I started eating yellow dock, which is a weed that grows in almost everywhere all over Connecticut. And I was eating the greens, and I started taking the roots like medicinally, and my symptoms basically went away.
wow.
I needed those extra minerals, and that's what happens. A lot of these plants with the super deep long taproot get down there and they get those minerals that have been depleted from our soils for so long. So it's
Yeah.
really it's going to help you in ways you don't even know sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another, I mean, I'm glad you brought up minerals because that's something I think that so many people are deficient in. And it's
Absolutely.
really hard to pinpoint like what it is. And those, you know, they're like, the fine-tuned little things that you need. You think that they're not that important, but they can cause a cascade of other issues, everything from, cardiac issues, to like what was going on
Yeah.
with you and restless leg syndrome. I mean, there's too
Hormone
many things.
imbalances, all that
Hormone,
stuff.
exactly. There's
Yeah.
so many things for sure. And a lot of times even the supplements are not fixing what the issue is just because the potency isn't enough or whatever. So what better to find that in your own
Especially
yard?
the synthetic supplements are never going to be as good for your body as something that came from nature. Because your body is
Exactly.
like, hey, I can take it, I can get the minerals from this food, but I can't get them from this fake supplement.
Yep, exactly, exactly. We're going to take another quick break. You're listening to the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. When we come back, we'll be talking more with Amelia South. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on the Dr. Diane Show with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. You can learn more about me at www.drdianeHayden.com. And I'm talking today with Amelia South and her website is www.blacksunfarmct.com. That's spelled BLACKSUNFARMCT.com. So one of the things I wanted to ask you is there any harm in what we're doing? Like, is there a way to forage in a way? Like, I'm not expecting that people are all of a sudden going to go out and start tearing up their backyards and there's going to be like nothing left.
Oh, I
But
hope not.
is there a way to forage in a way that supports the ecosystem rather than harming it?
Yes, and that is one of the things that I like to encourage people to do when they first get started is look for invasive species. There are so many invasive species um, in the country, let alone in New England where I'm at. And so look, no matter where you are, I'm sure you can Google it, but just search for your invasive species. You can go to your local agriculture extension center probably, and say what are the most invasive species around me, and I can pretty much guarantee you almost every single one of them is either going to be edible or medicinal, because these things were brought over. So something like Rosa multiflora, horribly invasive here, horribly invasive through a huge swath of the United States. Um, but you can still eat or make tea or medicine with the petals. You can still make things with the rose hips. You can the leaves are medicinal, the roots are medicinal. Let's like I said, Japanese knotweed. Most people, I mean, the way that they keep it down in Japan is by eating it. They eat that stuff to death, you know. It's actually pretty good. It tastes like rhubarb. If you've never
Ooh.
harvested Japanese knotweed in the springtime, oh yeah, we're getting to be almost time. I made a Japanese knotweed and apple pie last year. It was awesome. So, yeah, that's another one. Look for the most invasive species and start there, because and I hope nobody from the Department of Environmental Protection yells at me for this, but if I was to go to a park And even if they had a sign that said you're not supposed to forage, if I saw garlic mustard in that park, anybody that knows what I'm talking about is probably laughing right now. I'd be like, I don't care what you say, I'm pulling this stuff out. They pay people to go there and pull that stuff out. It is so invasive, but it's delicious, you know? If I want to make some pesto, if I want to make something in my pasta, I'm absolutely going to harvest that. So some of those really horribly invasive species, they're actually killing a lot of the native species around here. They're doing harm to our environment.
Mhm.
So I really genuinely encourage you to research which invasive species are doing harm to your environment and find out if they're edible first,
Yeah.
then find out if maybe they're medicinal, if they're not edible. There's very little that doesn't have some kind of a value to human life in that way. Plus, that way you're helping your ecosystem and you're feeding yourself at the same time. So that's the number one thing I would say.
And sometimes those invasive species are there because of chronic disease, like you mentioned before with Lyme disease.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Or you could have, I know it's not a fun topic, but if you've got really bad diarrhea, maybe there's blackberries or rose hips in your garden, in your
Interesting.
backyard.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about, what it's like when you come to, someone's home and you teach them, how to forage basically in their own backyard, and you show people all the, the things that are edible, medicinal. You can even do a demonstration where you go out in that person's yard and you pick things and you actually make something. But I know you do so much more than that. I mean, your website is a plethora of information. If anyone is interested, definitely go to blacksunfarmct.com and find all of the tools that you have there and all the things that you teach. But what other things do you offer to people to learn more about this?
So I do have quite a lot of online content for free if you want to just get introduced to me in the way that I teach. I'm on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and all that. But I teach classes, so I have a whole package for learning how to be a bioregional herbalist if you'd like to learn foraging and herbal medicine making in that. I also have a coaching program that I just recently started, how to rewild your gut. So learning how to heal your gut and heal your microbiome, and also learning how to forage. So you're healing your body with these wild foods that I'm teaching you how to incorporate into your daily life. So it's like a rewilding whole system thing. And that's really fun and fantastic. So I do that. I do one-on-one consultations. And so the foraging, I am looking for more places to go. I love traveling to new places to see new plants and new people and new things. I also do speaking engagements and workshops and things. I just spoke at one about a week and a half ago. I did a presentation about foraging and mushrooms. For the local garden club. So that was fun. I can do a PowerPoint. I would much rather be showing you the plants and having you touch things and taste things. And that's why when I do something like that, when I do an event like that, I always bring like some dried mushrooms or dried plants, or maybe some pesto or some tea of something, because I really want you to get into it and touch it and taste it and feel it, and experience the nature. It's so much more interesting when you're there in it. And there's some little workshops like that I do. The classes, I have a book that's going to be coming out in about a month. I do have a foraging book that's already out and it's available through Amazon. My next book is going to be probably the end of May or so. So I've got that coming. And yeah, that's
You
that's
have
that's a
products
lot
too,
of it.
though, don't you? I mean, you
Products.
actually have things, yeah.
I do physically make products. Yes. I tend to forget about that sometimes because it's like, oh, I've got such I actually busted my buns for the last 2 weeks and I've got a lot of stuff bottled just waiting. So it's like not the first thing I think of. But yes, I do. I make products. I do sell them in some stores in the areas. I'm looking for more stores that are interested in selling my products. I've got an award-winning oil made from birch trees,
Ooh,
which is amazing for pain relief. Yeah, I won an award at the International Herb Symposium with that, and so I do that. I have some healing
cool.
salves, and so a lot of topical stuff. I do have some teas and tinctures and things as well, which of course, if I come to a foraging walk, I usually bring my stuff because it's interesting to see all that. And doing a consultation is a really great way to get to know what sorts of things would be helpful for you, helpful for your family. So in whatever way I can help you learn this and incorporate this into your life, that's what I'm looking to do.
Yeah, that is really, really awesome. And you're located in the northeastern part of Connecticut, right?
Yes, yes. But I travel. I go all over the place. So
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah, and a lot of what you do, people could learn virtually for sure. That all the different classes that you have and
oh yeah,
all that
healing your
information on
gut
your
can be
website.
done from anywhere, and
Yep.
technically learning herbal medicine is pretty much this. It's the same process for making oils or tinctures or salves or anything like that. The same process. It's just different plants if you're in a different spot. You know. And I've told people that like some people have gotten my classes like from the UK, and it's like, well, honestly, you've got a lot of the same plants over there because you guys brought them over here. But somebody
Yep.
from Australia would still be able to learn the methodology of how to put all this together. They would just have to do a little bit of their own research on the plants that are, available for them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I hope that we have inspired people to definitely go to your website, reach out to you for sure and get curious about this because I certainly am. And I'm like, wow, like, I didn't even think about, first of all, I was like most people, when you think about foraging, you think like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go out in the woods and it's going to be I'm not going to know what to do and it's going to take all this time. No, all I have to do is literally like walk out my back door and look
Yeah.
around the little like half acre that I have. Some people's
Don't mow your lawn for
yards.
like 3 weeks, and I bet you there's like smorgasbord out there.
Yeah, that is the thing. That's the thing. It's so funny in that where I am in Avon, it's very interesting because like so many people have such beautifully like manicured yards.
Oh,
And I don't know what my
I
mom used
hate
to
those.
grow. Well, our yard is not that, trust me. I mean, my uncle used to make fun of my father all the time about how, quote, bad the yard was because it just had like all these different things in it. No matter what we did, it just continued to like grow this stuff. And and it was funny because it's like you look at like one side of the street and these people have beautiful yards, and then this other side of the street, they have the same kind of yards that we have. It's like, oh, that's so interesting. Like how things just grow differently based on, it could be like so close and yet things are
Oh
growing
yeah, yeah.
differently.
My neighbor 2 houses over does obsessively things, for his yard, his lawn, making it perfect. And I'm over
Yep.
here looking like, wee, I'm gonna mow around this patch of mullein. I'm gonna mow around this big patch of red clover that's in the middle of the yard. I don't care what people think. Like,
Exactly. But hey, I think, like I said, the big takeaway from this was basically that your yard is intuitive and what you need if you have a health issue is probably going to be in your yard and you just need to figure out what that is
your
and
home
how
is
to work
trying to
with it.
heal you.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I love
Yep.
that. Your home is trying to heal you for sure. So definitely I hope people will check you out. And basically, again, your website is blacksunfarmct.com. And I want to thank you, Amelia, for all this amazing information. This has been one of the most fascinating shows that I've done for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
And I
glad to
hope
be here. I appreciate
yep,
it.
of course, of course. Hope everybody reaches out to you. And I want to thank you all for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show. Please join me the first and third Thursdays at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Next time, I'll be speaking with April Goff Brown about human design. Find out if you're a manifester, generator, projector, or reflector. Hope to see you here next time. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Dr. Diane Hayden. Have a great day.
Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Diane Show, revolutionary expansion of mind, body, and soul with me, Dr. Diane Hayden. Tune in every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern on transformationtalkradio.com. Center your thoughts on what you want and shut the door on every suggestion of fear, worry, or lack from your own consciousness or the consciousness around you. Once you master that, everything is possible. To learn more about me, Dr. Diane, and receive a free digital subscription of my magazine, visit naturalnutmeg.com.